What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be trying to fix my glove box on my Discovery 2. I got the car with a broken glove box. It kind of just dropped open when you released the lever. If the door was closed, this little pocket would stop the glove box just below the horizontal, so if there's anything around in there, it would roll out. And then, of course, if the door was open, the box would go almost vertical and everything would dump out of it into the floorboard. So the reason that it's broken is that it used to have little uh, nubs that stuck off of on either side off of these plastic arms, and they would ride behind this piece of metal here. You could press the spring up and release to get the glove box to open up, but normal use it was rolling behind there. I guess not rolling, but sliding, and well, pretty obviously they broke off, and I think they broke off before I got the car. But what I did originally to fix this problem was I tied this wire to either side, looped it through the spring here, and in the middle I looped it up and attached it to this tab right here. There's a little hole in the middle, so it at least gave me control over where the box stopped, so I could stop the box above horizontal. That way everything stayed in it. It worked fine, but I was taking everything apart. I had to undo the cable anyway, so instead of redoing the cable, I'm going to see if I can do something better. My idea is that I'm going to drill this out, maybe a little bigger if I need to, maybe not. These little arms are beefy enough that they should be able to support a bolt with a couple of washers. So if I run a bolt with the head on the back here, sticking out this way, that's the little arm that I need. Do that on both sides. Hopefully I can just slip it back in there and it'll work like it's supposed to. So I'm going to take those off and give that a shot, and we'll see what happens. Okay, there it is. Um, Drilled out the hole to, I don't know, quarter of an inch, a little bigger. And I actually used the bolts from the head gasket, or the head cover gaskets. Only did this side, but I wanted to see first what the clearance would be like. Let me get this zoom back out here. I wanted to make sure that the bolt head wasn't going to hit on the plastic or the rubber. And it looks like, let's see here, it looks like it's just going to clear. And I can make that work if I need to. But that way, we're just rolling on the threaded part. And if I need to, I can put a little bearing on there or something. And as you can see, it does what it needs to. The only worry that I have is, if you look closely, you can see a little silver through that gap right there. That's from where the molded nub broke off. Now, I think that washer gives it a lot of extra strength, and it makes it pretty rigid. And you can't see it right now, but if I flex this without the washer, there's a little hair crack that goes here, and it goes all the way through. So I'm worried once I start putting this under a load that this entire end piece might just snap off once it torques off, because there's a considerable amount of force on this. Like I said, these springs here are very strong. I'm going to see if I can strengthen that up, but if I can't, I'll put it in there and just hope for the best. Worst case scenario, I'll go back to the string, which worked. It never bothered me too much, but you know. All right, so I'll do the other side, and we'll see how it works once I get it all back together. Okay, real quick before I put them back on, I thought I'd show what I ended up doing. To strengthen these up, I just filled them up with super glue. I thought about using fiberglass, but it's a little too viscous to get down in all the nooks and crannies, and it might be a little stronger, but I don't have that much time. So I went with super glue. I used about 3/4 of a tube on each of these. Really filled everything up in there. So there shouldn't be any play. That should help out with the stress. It should be a snug fit. And when that super glue cures, it gets pretty hot, at least when you use a bunch of it. So, and at least it seems to me that it melts the plastic a little bit. So that might help out with the crack, the little fissure that I have in each of these. But for rolling, uh, I guess you would say, to make these slide a little bit easier, I stuck a piece of clear hose over the end. Well, I didn't just stick it on. It was actually a lot smaller, so I ended up threading it on so it shouldn't come off. So I twisted the hose on there, cut it off with some dikes to the right length. That way it gives me a nice, round, smooth rolling surface. It won't mar up the metal on the back. It won't, cause problems. Um, if I need to, I can put some kind of lubricant on there, but it'll probably be fine. Um, I just snug these down with a couple pairs of pliers there. Snug the bolt and the nut down. Everything's real tight. They've been setting up with super glue for a little bit, and you can see I put quite a bit in there actually, and I mess with these while they're curing. That's like the fifth time that it's stuck to the table. I keep thinking they're dry, but I'll leave them for a little bit, and then I'll put them back on the glove box and get it all together, and then we'll see how well they work. So while we're waiting on those to dry, I've got a quick little story, a side note, but it has to do with the project that led me to take all of this apart. Actually, really a piece of advice, but I bought one of these a couple of years ago, and it wasn't this one. This is a nice one. This is a good little converter, but I got one of those cheap ones. Maybe it was on eBay. I don't know where I got it, gas station or somewhere. But it advertised super fast charging. It had four plugs. Is a big abomination of a converter that was sticking out of that hole right there. And my brother had his phone plugged into it with the iPhone cable, like the OEM original iPhone charging cable. iPhone 7, and this is about a week after he got his phone. He plugged it into this thing, and it was charging 5, 6, 7 minutes tops while we were driving, and not only did it melt the cable and totally destroy his iPhone cable, it fried his phone, like blew his phone battery, popped the back off the phone, totally destroyed his phone, was completely trashed, didn't have Apple Care or anything, so his brand new $1,000 phone at the time was completely trashed. It was a total ordeal. And not only on my car did it melt my carpet, where the cable, as you can see in these two spots, the cable actually melted into the plastic of my carpet. Um, it cooked a lot of the electrics in my car, ruined my outlet there. I couldn't get power to it for the longest time. That's part of the problem that I'm dealing with now, and I think that uh, I'm not an electrician and I don't know a whole lot about electricals, but it did something to my computer, or it blew something out. I've replaced all the fuses, but it confused and scrambled something, because the years following, slowly, progressively, on everything that's associated with this little outlet, the cassette player, the headlights, the windshield wipers, um, they're all kind of on the same circuit. Not on the same circuit, but they're linked. And yeah, in ways I'm still trying to figure out by taking everything apart. I've got all this back together now, but I might insert some snapshots of what that looks like, of what it looked like once I had it all apart, trying to chase down where the cables from the back of my uh, uh, what do you call it, cassette player, or my radio, where they went to see if the ground was bad. And then some, yeah, side note, I'm looking in different places now, so I got all this back together. But long story short, if you're gonna buy one of these, if you're gonna use one of these in your car, whether you've got a new car or an older car like mine, um, get something quality. Don't try to save some money. They say buy once, cry once, and that's really true. I mean, I paid 15 or 20 bucks for this thing, and it works like a charm. I've got this working since it works half the time, and This is a good brand. There are other good brands. I like this one because it sits flush with the face of this, and I don't have a whole lot of space here. When I drive, I set my wallet up here. Um, yeah, there's that little piece of advice. Just trying to save you some grief. All right, I'll get to putting these two on this, and we can see how it works. All right, here we go. Glove box is back in the dash. I have reinstalled the bolts on the bottom. Get the glare out of there. You can see all four of those in there. I put both of the pieces back on the sides, obviously, and it stops where it's supposed to stop. It's tilted back a little ways. So, one thing is, I did leave those a little long, so they won't clear these little cutouts, so I can't come here and pinch this and lift them up so that this will drop down further so I can get to the goodies that are behind it. But it's not really important. If I need to do that, I can take out the 4 bolts. I probably won't need to do that. So I'm pretty happy with this. If I were to give any suggestions to anyone doing something similar, probably make the bolts a little shorter. Might even make it a little more durable. That way there's not so much leverage on the little joint. If you let go of it, it kind of drops right about there, but you can push it down a little further. It has the ability to go down further if I put my hand on both sides and lift these up. But when you push it, it doesn't really want to. I imagine that that's probably how this broke in the first place, with the original plastic nubs on it, is that someone tried to make it open further and it just broke them off. It's not a very strong design. Even now, that joint's pretty weak with the bolt that I put in there. Hopefully it holds up for what I use it for. I open my glove box about twice a month maybe, so, you know, if it lasts me another 5 years, I'd be happy. Well, that's that. Hopefully I help someone. It's not a huge fix or a huge issue, but it's one of the little things. And cars like this, as they get older, there's a lot of little things. A lot of little things. Well, thanks for watching, and hope I saved you some grief.